Thank you for participating in this presentation on Pennsylvania Charter School Trustees Personnel Basics. This session is presented by the Pennsylvania Department of Education and is an overview of topics related to charter school personnel and effective charter school leadership. The training includes topics such as ensuring exceptional school leadership, planning for succession, and requirements for both professional and administrative staffing. Welcome to today's webinar on ensuring exceptional school leadership, brought to you by the Pennsylvania Department of Education and Charter Board partners. The following presentation is for informational purposes only. It is not legal advice and should not be relied upon as such. Presentations of this PowerPoint without the Commonwealth's recording do not represent the views of the Commonwealth or any Commonwealth agency. Charter Board Partners, CBP, is a national nonprofit that works to strengthen the effectiveness of charter school governing boards. We work with boards at every stage of the life cycle and on a wide range of topics. You can visit our website, www.charterboards.org, to learn more about us and the work we are doing across the country. Since launching CBP, board after board has asked, what do highly effective charter school boards do? We did a lot of research on best practices for nonprofit boards and charter schools across the country and built these standards from our findings and experience. These standards are our framework for effective governance. They're meant to be a helpful organizational tool for boards to use when setting goals, creating committees, and evaluating their effectiveness. Today's webinar will focus only on the second standard, but you can read more about all of our standards, follow our blog, and access free research on the CBP website. Today's topic is Standard 2, Ensure Exceptional School Leadership. First, a quick pop quiz. How many employees does a charter school board directly oversee? If you answered 1, you are correct. The board oversees one person, the individual you have tasked with overseeing the management of the school. For today's purposes, we refer to that person as the school leader. Some schools use CEO, executive director, head of school, superintendent, or principal. Research has shown that the person in the position of overseeing the school's overall functioning plays an enormous role in driving high student achievement. It is the board's role to recruit and retain the right leader for this role. In fact, it is one of the most critical roles a charter board can play. The board does this by focusing on 2 overarching responsibilities: hire and support a strong leader, and evaluate and hold the leader accountable. Let's spend time on each of these pieces individually. Your first role is to hire and support a strong leader. This entails the following pieces: hire the right leader, cultivate a trusting relationship, build a strong partnership between leader and board chair, champion the leader, and maintain an up-to-date succession plan. Let's take them one at a time. First, let's look at the hiring piece. One of the most important roles that a charter school board must play is ensuring that the school has the right leader who can manage the school to achieve its goals. The word right is key here. A school has different needs and priorities during different periods of its development. Opening a new school requires different skills than growing or replicating a successful model. Whatever the life stage of your school, if you are on a board that is facing a leader search, here are some important things to remember. First, make sure you have a job description that clearly articulates the responsibilities. Well-written, thoughtful, and up-to-date school leader job descriptions matter. The writing process itself requires clarifying the expectations for the school leader and create a shared vision between board and leader. Once polished, this document serves as a foundation for recruiting, performance evaluation, and even succession planning. However, many boards do not invest time in this process. Rather, they dust off early versions of the job description, perhaps those even dating back to the school's launch. Very often, this document comprises merely a list of bullet points that only summarize responsibilities for the most important role in the school. Charter school boards need to recognize the importance of school leader job descriptions and invest the time and thought required to create a description that can serve as a key tool in the board's most important hiring decision. Make sure to include not only tasks for which the person will be held responsible, but also core competencies. What must the person be good at in order to succeed in this role? What skills and characteristics, sense of humor, maturity, patience, for example, are required in your next school leader? What other factors are critical that you want to emphasize here? For example, do you want to look for someone who demonstrates dedication to the mission, prior experience with your target population, or management expertise? In Pennsylvania, the chief executive officer of a charter school is not considered a professional staff member, which means charter schools have flexibility in hiring a school leader that traditional school districts do not typically have. However, if the CEO is performing the duties of a school principal, he or she must hold appropriate state certification as a principal. More information about this is available by visiting the certification page of PDE's website. Next, make sure you know how much money you have in the budget to spend on your search. Do you have enough for a few internet postings? Enough to hire a search firm? Many boards underestimate the time and money it takes to undergo a thorough leader search. Plan accordingly and invest in the process you need to get the outcomes you desire. Whether you're doing the search yourself or using a third party, make sure to consider the stakeholders who will want a voice in the decision. Most boards form a search committee made up of parents, school staff, and board members. Choose members of the school community who can be impartial and have time to devote to interviewing and reviewing application materials. Additionally, keep diversity in mind. Make sure the committee you select, which must be headed by a board member, represents the demographics of your school community. If you have more interest in your committee than you can accommodate, consider conducting a school-wide survey to incorporate more voices. Be then selective about the group of people you end up using to run the process. Once you have identified the who, what, and how of your process, create a realistic timeline. Give yourself more time than you think you will need to find a strong leader. These people do not grow on trees. Start posting your position no later than January in order to secure someone great in time for this next school year. Use the time during your search to prepare for a thoughtful transition and onboarding process to help your new leader get off to a very strong start. Now you've hired the best person for the job. Great. Your next very important task is to ensure that he or she has the support to succeed in what is, by all measures, an extremely demanding role. Many charter school leaders come to the role with no prior experience working with and reporting to a governing board. This can feel like foreign territory, and many school leaders tell us that learning the right way to interact with their board was one of the biggest learning curves they encountered when assuming their role. It's important for board to be very intentional about building a positive, candid, and trusting relationship with the school leader. When you bring in a new leader, have a conversation at the onset about viewing the relationship between board and leader as a proactive partnership. Everyone is working towards the same outcomes for the kids in the school, even if the rules are different. Even if your leader is not new, if you have never had this explicit conversation, stop and have it now. You need your leader to feel safe in coming to you with challenges or concerns before they become full-blown crisis. We often meet school leaders who are afraid of the reaction that the boards will have to less than stellar news. Thus, they are tempted to conceal or gloss over areas of concern for fear of being reprimanded. We've worked with boards who learn about events that happened at the school by reading about them in the local newspaper. Don't let this happen to you. Your motto should be no surprises. The interactions you have with your leader should model an open and outcomes-focused approach. Are you using data to look at a challenge and explore possible solutions rather than anecdotes? Who is involved in difficult conversations? Are they happening one-on-one with the board chair or around the board table? What is the board's initial reaction when the school leader presents a problem to the board? What would your school leader say today if you asked him or her how she felt about the nature of your relationship? In short, if you can build a culture of trust and candor with your leader, it will greatly enhance your ability to ensure the board is receiving an accurate picture of the state of affairs in the school and able to provide real-time support to improve challenging situations or make course corrections. It will also greatly improve your chances of retaining a strong leader. No one wants to fear their boss or fear that they may have been left on their own to do a role that is extremely challenging even on the best of days. Make sure you have built a solid partnership that approaches the work delivering results for kids and families as a team effort. The role of the board chair is critical in moderating this candid, trusting relationship. A strong board chair-school leader relationship is one of the most important keys to an effective charter school board. On our board self-evaluation survey, we ask all board members and the school leader to rate their perception of how strong the relationship is between chair and leader. We find that when this relationship is not functioning well, communication between the leader and the rest of the board is often fragmented and inefficient. The board chair serves as the primary contact and source of support for the school leader. The chair holds regular check-ins with the leader, develops board meeting agendas in partnership with the school leader, and guides the board through the process of hiring, evaluating, and supporting the school leader. It is important that the board chair has adequate time available to devote to this relationship. The board chair and leader should hold regularly scheduled check-ins to discuss strategic issues, monitor progress towards goals, and identify opportunities where the leader needs support from the board. Ideally, these check-ins occur weekly, in person if possible. Additionally, if an issue comes up between check-ins and board meetings, it is usually the board chair to whom the leader reaches out for guidance. This person must be available and responsive, as usually issues that come up have to be resolved quickly. Finally, it is important to stress that while the board chair plays a big role, it is the job of every single member of a charter school board to champion their school leader. This is an extremely hard job. Great school leaders are very hard to find and even harder to replace. The role of a school leader is daunting and lonely. Do not forget that. Find ways to recognize accomplishments. Consider sending a congratulations on the first day of school, donuts to the staff during testing weeks, or flowers on her birthday. If you can publicly acknowledge your leader for job well done via social media or by attending a school event and saying a few words of thanks, do so. Do not underestimate how thankless a job it can be to run a charter school. This does not mean that you are accepting everything he or she tells you on a face value without verification, or that you are sugarcoating challenges that the school is facing. It is possible to both hold your leader accountable and also recognize and show gratitude for a usually complex job they are doing. In fact, you must do both at the same time. You are your leader's primary source of support, and taking the time to show your appreciation for the role they are playing is very important. No matter what stage you are in with your leader, It is very important to be sure that you be ready when the time comes to search for a new one. No one wants to think about needing a plan for the exit of a leader, but great boards must make this a priority. School leadership changes are inevitable and pivotal points in a charter school's life cycle. Leaders burn out, move, and change careers. On occasion, they leave abruptly in the middle of a school year. Sometimes boards must proactively replace the leader, either for poor performance or because the fit is no longer good. Succession plans are critical to the board's effectiveness in leading charter schools through leadership transitions. Despite their importance, most boards prioritize other responsibilities and continue on as if their school leader will never leave, avoiding the conversation completely. And most school leaders are often too overstretched in their jobs, managing the high-stake demands of running a school and a 501c3 nonprofit organization operating outside the traditional public school system to focus on succession planning. But boards must prepare for this occurrence as it will happen. When a strong leader leaves, there is high risk for watching the results that leader achieved walk out the door as well. Without a central office with a staff focused on creating, monitoring, and institutionalizing organizational systems and processes, charter schools too often overemphasize the leadership of one or two individuals instead of focusing on whether or not the results they are yielding can be replaced and sustained through challenges and changes. This is where the board can and must step up to help. It is not enough for charter school board members to feel confident in the leader that they have hired. They must also feel confident that if the leader had to go immediately or with some notice, they would know what steps to take in order to ensure the kids and teachers experience as little disruption as possible to the place they love to call their school. They should be certain that what makes the school successful is embedded in the institution, not just in that leader. We have seen successful schools falter when their leader leaves unexpectedly and the board is caught off guard and without a plan. We have also seen boards struggle to come up with a plan for leader transition even when the leader has given a year's notice. It is easy to delay facing an unpleasant task, but board members must fight the urge to put this work under the category of "we'll get to it later, there's no urgency," or "we just can't bear to think about that," allowing that pebble to be pushed further down the road until suddenly the pebble becomes a rock, which becomes a boulder, blocking the path completely. It's time to commit to having the critical conversations now around what you're doing to protect the future from the present. Ask critical questions to make sure you have the information you need, such as, what does our leadership bench look like today? What resources does our school leader need to keep, retain, and continue to develop the best talent in the city? Does our school have an emergency plan? If something unexpected happens, do we know who would step in as an intern? And where to find the passwords, extra keys, and account numbers? Where does our school leader see himself in 5 years? What are his personal and professional goals? If he is nearing a transition, do we have a line item in our budget to search for a firm in case we need it? Do we know who we'll call or which stakeholders to engage in the selection process? Do we have the right people around the board table to manage both the tactical and emotional components of a leader transition? It takes a true team effort to pull this off, but that's how it should be. Lasting success does not and cannot hinge on an individual. Make sure your board has a plan for ensuring that the leadership transitions will happen smoothly and with as little disruption to the kids and teachers in the building as possible. Charter Board Partners has a free succession planning checklist tool on our website. We created it to help boards and school leaders keep track of the many steps involved to ensure you are ready for leadership change, either planned or unexpected. Please check it out and use it to help your board plan proactively and thoroughly for inevitable changes ahead. Your next critical function is to perform an annual evaluation of your leader to ensure that he or she is meeting expectations. Too many charter schools fail to do this. It can feel daunting. The board is busy. The leader's job feels foreign to many board members, but it is a very important piece of ensuring accountability to your stakeholders. Additionally, most school leaders we work with actually want to receive that formal feedback and a chance to provide feedback in return to their boards. We have even encountered school leaders who have taken it upon themselves to design their own evaluation and present it to the boards for completion. This is not the ideal. Boards should own the process of creating a formal evaluation system and implementing it annually with fidelity. The evaluation process allows the board to engage formally with its school leader about performance strengths, challenges, and development opportunities in ways that ensure the school has the leadership it needs to drive student success. There are three main pieces to this evaluation responsibility. Collaborate with the leader each year to establish annual goals. Evaluate the leader annually using a fair and transparent process. And invest in ongoing professional development. Let's take them one at a time. School leaders should be evaluated on their ability to perform the required core competencies of the role as described in the job description and on completion of mutually established, pre-approved annual SMART goals. We touched on core competencies earlier. These should be outlined in the position description and be skills that, if demonstrated frequently by the school leader, would indicate that the school leader is performing the primary responsibilities of his or her job. Annual goals should be established prior to the start of each new academic year. Make time for this over the summer. The longer you wait to talk to your leader about goals, the harder it'll be to make time for this amongst the bustle of day-to-day school priorities. A less is more approach is recommended for goal setting. In general, evaluating your school leader against 4 to 6 SMART goals is sufficient for evaluation performance. A SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-specific. The school leader is most familiar with his or her priorities and the targets for the academic school year ahead, so usually he or she drafts a set of goals and then brings them to the board for review, feedback, editing, and final approval. It's important to note that annual goals are not a list of job requirements. A school leader's annual SMART goals should define specific aims and targets within the scope of the leader's responsibility, but beyond everyday tasks. For example, school leaders are responsible for enrollment, and their job description might state that the school leader is responsible for ensuring that the school is fully enrolled. However, if your leader is overseeing an elementary school is opening a middle school next year, he or she might create a SMART goal around the number of applications needed to ensure a strong 6th grade class. Let's take a look at an example of this kind of enrollment goal. To ensure that the 6th grade class of 45 students is fully enrolled, by January 31st, collect signed agreements from 100% of the 25 5th grade parents to determine those that will remain for 6th grade. And by February 15th, collect at least 70 applications from new prospective 6th grade students. In this example, you can see that the enrollment target for the new middle school is articulated and interim metrics are identified with a final goal of 170 applicants collected by February 15th of the upcoming school year. In Pennsylvania, charter schools are not required to evaluate their teacher and administrators using the Classroom Teacher Effectiveness Evaluation System. However, charter schools may choose to use this system to evaluate its educators, and PD strongly recommends charter schools consider doing so. This flexibility in evaluation methods extends to the evaluation of the school leadership as well. Whatever evaluation process the board builds needs to be one that can be completed in a reasonable amount of time by the board and also by the school leader. Too often, charter school boards get bogged down in complicated evaluation processes that ultimately prevent them from executing the evaluation at all. Create a process that is fair, transparent, and doable. In order to execute a fair annual evaluation, make sure you have the following in place: a current position description for the school leader, a performance evaluation tool that the board and the school leader mutually agreed upon, pre-established goals and competencies against which the school leader will be evaluated. Many boards ask us who should conduct the leader evaluation. Collectively, the entire board is responsible for evaluating the school leader. However, in order to run effectively, a board committee should be assigned the responsibility of conducting the evaluation process. Typically, either the governance committee or an ad hoc evaluation committee led by the chair is assigned the responsibility. Each board member should anticipate spending a minimum of 4 hours per year on the school leader's evaluation. The committee or task force responsible for the leader evaluation should formally meet with the school leader at least twice during the school year, once for a mid-year check-in and once to conduct the formal review. In addition, the school leader should provide regular, at least quarterly, updates to the full board on his or her progress towards annual goals. The school leader should complete a self-assessment using the same tool the board will use to evaluate the school leader. Although the school leader's self-assessment can inform the board's evaluation, it should not be used as the primary basis for the board's evaluation or as a substitution for the board's own evaluation. Many school leaders have annual goals that touch on their relationships with their staff and the parents of their students. Schools should solicit parents and staff feedback using structured, anonymous surveys on an annual basis. Parent and staff feedback can often be used to support whether a school leader successfully completed a SMART goal focused on parent involvement, enrollment, student or school culture, leadership development, or a similar field. That feedback can be used to support and inform the board's own perspective, but should not supersede the board's perspective. It is important for the board members to include their own assessment of how the leader is doing in engaging with all stakeholders on the annual evaluation. When conducting an evaluation, board members should be honest, transparent, and concrete in their feedback, keeping in mind that it is the board's role to both hold the school leader accountable and provide support for success. The board has to develop a strong relationship with the school leader, be clear about performance expectations, including the school leader's self-reflection in the evaluation process, and position the evaluation process as a performance management and professional development opportunity. Boards that take these key steps can position themselves to deliver constructive feedback that can be utilized by the school leader to drive towards improved performance. Performance evaluations should ideally be used primary as a professional development tool for your school leader. Even so, compensation decisions are linked to performance. For example, it is unlikely that a raise would be given to a school leader who does not possess many of the core competencies required of the position, or who completed only one of the 4 established annual goals. Most importantly, the performance management process needs to be a year-round process, with direct and honest conversations taking place at all times, with emphasis always being on continuous improvement, support, and outcomes for kids. If that occurs, the formal evaluation will be seen as a cumulative of that year-round process, rather than a one-time meeting about compensation or punitive process, intended to point out deficiencies. Charter school leaders must oversee not only a school serving the academic and social-emotional needs of students, but also a 501c3 nonprofit organization. This is often a tremendous growth area for charter leaders, who may commonly start as a teacher either in a charter or traditional public school. Most charter leaders have never had to manage a multi-million-dollar budget, let alone oversee the human resources and operation needs that running a charter school entails. For this reason, it is important that the board is comprised of a diverse slate of members ready to provide support in all of these areas, and that the board has a conversation with the leader about what professional development he or she needs to address areas of growth or inexperience. These professional development goals should be formalized at the start of every academic year and incorporated into the evaluation process. Many boards shy away from talking about professional development for their leaders, but it is best practice to have that conversation annually and make sure to have a line item in the budget reserving for funds to dedicate towards support opportunities. Remember, in choosing to lead your school, your leader gave up access to a central office with all of the ongoing professional development and support it normally provides. And great charter leaders are usually so focused on providing the support and enrichment their teachers need that they do not stop to think about their own. Have a conversation with your leader about areas in which he or she feels more professional development would be useful, and make your own recommendations that the board has identified through the evaluation process, and work to identify opportunities for support. For example, many boards use executive coaches to work with leaders who need more support around managing a diverse team of school staff. Many cities have support or back office organizations that offer topic-specific training classes that your leader can take online or in person. Is there a leadership development program that can assist your school leader in completing that will allow him or her to strengthen necessary skills? Peer mentoring is another great option that local and national organizations provide. You may not feel like you have all of the answers, but utilize the resources you have available to you and encourage your leader to do research as well. Make the time for it because it will pay off. Professional development is essential for growing and retaining a strong leader. Finally, ensure that you have money in the annual budget dedicated to professional development and that it does not get all allotted to the teaching staff. If you need grant funding in order to provide opportunities to your leader, work with him or her to secure the funds you need. In short, professional development is a priority. Don't overlook the support even the strongest of school leaders need to feel that they can go professionally and meet expectations of the position. It is important to remember that an administrator of a charter school is prohibited from receiving compensation from another charter school or from a company that provides management or other services to another charter school. Any individual who serves as an administrator of a charter school while receiving compensation from another charter school or a company that provides management or other services to another charter school commits a violation of the Public Official and Employee Ethics Act. The charter school law defines an administrator as the chief executive officer of the charter school and all other employees of a charter school who, by virtue of their position, exercise management or operational oversight responsibilities. Additionally, while the board only directly oversees the CEO or school leader, it is crucial to understand some of the personnel requirements for teachers and staff. Teachers and administrators of charter schools must be direct employees of a charter school board of trustees. While the charter school law permits some flexibility in staffing requirements, at least 75% of the professional school members of a charter school must hold appropriate Pennsylvania certification. Principals, special education teachers and supervisors, school nurses, and school psychologists are not included in the 75ers rule, and all must hold appropriate certification. As we conclude this webinar, here are some questions to think about. How would you describe your board's relationship with your school leader? How is your board doing on providing ongoing support for your leader? How is your board doing on executing a fair and transparent evaluation process? And what new ideas have you learned that you could take back to your board? I encourage you to take these back to your board and discuss areas for improvement. As I mentioned, many charter school leaders struggle with the right way to leverage and engage with their board, and many board members feel so daunted by the task of understanding all that goes into running a school that they fail to provide adequate level of support and oversight. I hope you have picked up some useful ideas in this session that you can help your board feel more equipped to do a great job in ensuring exceptional school leadership. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this webinar. For more information and for other training topics, we encourage you to visit the websites of PDE at www.education.pa.gov and Charter Board Partners at www.charterboards.org. Also, please take time to review the questions for discussion and additional resources included with this webinar.